via PAP. At this time, please make sure all cellular devices are silenced. Now would you please rise and join me in the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance
to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Tonight, I will be speaking about our experiences on Team Tonight 7. Middle school was a scary thought when we were 6th graders. You see, middle school was like a big onion. We started off looking at each angle of the big onion, observing its countless layers, and dreading the fact that somehow these layers would eventually need to be peeled away. The transition from elementary school to middle school was absolutely terrifying. Hundreds of kids were coming together for the first time and were expected to participate in the same classroom. But it wasn't only the fear of sharing a classroom with strangers. The expectations would be higher, tests would be harder, and I'm not even going to get started on locker combinations. Yet still, there were more fears. Some we didn't even know we had yet. The first layer of the onion was the anticipation of the first day. First impressions are everything. The first day could predict whether you were either cool, smart, brave, the jock, or the undiscovered wallflower. Again, terrifying. Not to mention the tough goals our teachers would set for us. And one way or another, we all had our own layers to peel. Each layer representing a personal goal or accomplishment to be reached, such as passing the test, making a new friend, overcoming a fear, or making the cut for that team. And peeling an onion can be messy at times. So after walking into wrong classrooms and messing up on that locker combination several times, was it left and right? Was it right then left? Was there a clicking sound? Regardless, we managed to get through the first day with guidance from our teachers at first. Gradually, the hand-holding and guidance began to diminish. It wasn't instantaneous, not even fast. But we soon recognized we were holding the onion. Just like learning how to ride a bike, we were peeling away our own layers. And our fears became fun. It was the little moments, the little things which brought us together. Like having a dance party on the gymnasium floor at the end of Spirit Week with our trophy, proving to Tonight 8 that it was very much possible for 7th graders to tie first place. The little moments such as lending a hand to a new classmate at Camp Martina, or making sure we didn't drop each other while falling from 5 feet with arms crossed and eyes closed, hoping our new classmates, whom we've only known a couple of days, would catch us. Through many chapter tests, science labs, and English essays, we have managed to come together. We went from being complete strangers to true friends who shared Spanish books to those who forgot to study for the culture part of Mr. Howell's chapter test. Here have been incredible friendships made, and I think each and every one of us has gotten a step closer to finding out who we are. Through this school and our teachers, we have just begun to discover our passions, our sports, and our friends. We keep growing and getting stronger and getting a higher score in the PACER test and gym class with Mr. Thompson as we move up through the grades. We were impressionable those first days as 7th graders. We stepped into this school together, and we will step out together as well. We won't forget these memories created here, not when we are in high school, or college, or even 30 years old. I'd like to take a moment to thank Mrs. Gallenberty for her relentless faithfulness, Mrs. Hambrook for always raising the bar, Mrs. Dennett for teaching us how to write our first persuasive essay, and Mr. Walker for introducing to us difficult math equations for the first time. Also, a special thanks to our advisors, Mr. Casto Mrs. Grasso, Mrs. Thomas, and Mrs. McAvoy. It definitely wasn't easy. But here we are tonight, peeling away the last layer. And what do we have left at the core? Our onions are indivisible and distinct. We are sharp, spicy, bitter, green, and we are sweet Vidalia. What we decide to create is up to us. Here's to making a great class of 2019. Thank you. Now it's my pleasure to introduce to you my friend, Miles Nicolay.
Thanks, Olivia. My name is Miles Nicolay, and I'm here to talk to you about our 7th grade Vista experience. Coming to 7th grade was a big deal to a lot of us back then. As we moved from elementary school, we were confident in our achievement. We were the big kids. To walk through Kingswood's doors for the first time, we instantly recognized our job and status. The 8th graders were extremely intimidating. We were the new kids, and this was their turf. However, we soon realized they were actually our allies. They welcomed us, they helped us, they shared their school. Those 8th graders had a positive effect on my character and who I am today. Vista has both 7th and 8th grade integrated into one curriculum. This is great because it lets everyone on the team feel closer, make them feel equal. We were first exposed to a concept called campfire circles. This is when a group of 7th and 8th graders would discuss topics we were studying in class. Working together allowed us to push one another and see different perspectives. The 2 years my peers and I spent on Vista were 2 of the best years of my life so far. There isn't a single teacher or student on Vista that hasn't encouraged us to strive for our full potential. In the beginning of my 7th grade year, I had an interest in poetry. I had never made that apparent until I wrote one of my first of many poems on Vista, Creature of the Bug. I was nervous to show this to my English teacher, Miss Peterson, but upon showing her, she asked me to type in. She printed a copy for every student on Vista and dedicated a whole English block to that poem. This encouraged me to continue with my passion. Now I'm writing sonnets and other poetry types. I don't know what my poetry or anything would be if she hadn't been so supportive and encouraging. How all of Vista was. Every morning we'd be greeted by our advisors. These are people that help us solve our problems, affecting us more than they know in such a positive way. The advisors for my 7th grade year were Mr. Edson, Mrs. Cornwall, Mrs. Warren, Mrs. Peterson, Mr. Beans, Mr. Ramsey, and Mrs. Dwyer. I want to thank them for all they've done for us. Vista has challenging hikes and challenging schoolwork, but it only drives us to persevere. It shows us our limits and makes us stronger in every way. Most importantly, I'm the leader now. I'm the one that can guide and inspire. I'm ready to give back what Vista gave me. If this is the direction our education is headed, then I can't wait for what next year brings. Thank you. Now I'd like to introduce my good friend, Charlie Arenillo.
Thank you, Miles. Hello, my name is Charlie Arenillo. I'm here to tell you about our 7th grade year on Team McCracken, also known as Team Titans, a name that was selected by its students at the beginning of the year. The Titans of Greek mythology were giants of incredible strength and knowledge. The Titans of KRMS were mere 7th graders looking to strengthen our friendships and expand our knowledge. We expanded our knowledge when we made bottle rockets with Mr. Davidson. It helped us to learn about engineering and how to calculate altitude. In geography class, our knowledge grew beyond demographics and maps. Mr. McCracken brought the cultures we studied to life by wearing traditional African clothing and teaching us about the foods, jobs, and religions of countries all over the world. Sometimes we felt like we had the world on our shoulders, like the Titan Atlas. The new demands of homework, sports, and the expectations of 7 teachers weighed heavily on our mortal shoulders. Our loads felt a bit lighter when we realized that our classes were connected. All of our core teachers worked with us to prepare for the Country Expo project. We chose a country to study in geography, learned the mythology of our country in English, and calculated its statistics in math. Our teamwork continued in band and chorus. It was a mighty task when over 200 students worked together to perform our annual Spring Rock concert. It was an extraordinary show of music and dancing. There were also memorable experiences outside of the classrooms. The first field trip of the year was a trip to Camp Northwoods for Team Day. We supported our teammates by encouraging each other on a low ropes course. We worked together to avoid tipping our canoes. We relied on our teammates during trust falls. At the end of the day, we were a team. As a team, we came together to win the broom hockey tournament during Spirit Week. As 7th graders, we were unlikely victors, but we worked together to the end. While we learned about perseverance, we also learned about forgiveness when Mr. Davidson, with supernatural strength, broke Mrs. Riley's basketball hoop during a team ice cream party. We would like to thank all of the teachers and advisors on Team McCracken for all of these lessons. Not only academic, but the lessons about teamwork, perseverance, and forgiveness. Our advisors, Mr. McCracken, Mr. Davidson, Mrs. Riley, Mrs. Harwood, Mrs. Peterson, Mrs. Danberg, Mrs. Daly Gibson, and Mrs. Giroux had epic patience and titanic tolerance for all of our questions and complaints. In Greek mythology, the time of the Titans was described as the Golden Age, and during this time, peace and harmony prevailed. Our teamwork on Team Titans created a kind of harmony that I will always remember. Thank you. I would now like to introduce my good friend, Sam Dene.
Thank you, Charlie. Together, everyone achieves more. As a saying printed on the wall, hanging in the middle school. I've walked by it for years, and I've probably read the words hundreds of times. But this year, on Team Dene 8, also known as Team Donation, I learned what it truly means. Our team this year is made up of math whizzes, fishermen, ballerinas, snowmobile racers, bookworms, skiers, magicians, snowboard trick artists, and even hockey studs. Each of us has our own unique set of talents, and when you put them all together, we make up one amazing group. And together, this year, we've achieved more. We started this year with our team day at Camp Calumet. At Camp Calumet, that day, we learned not only about what kind of team members we wanted to be, but also what kind of team members we needed to be. The day, like so many others that would follow, was marked by the kids working together to achieve our goals. Together we played cooperative group games, completed a low ropes course, and shared the huge feast that Camp Calumet had prepared. Just a heads up, don't ever try to eat 9 cheeseburgers before you go on a hike. The year was full of similar scenes where we discovered how important and more fun it is to work together. We experienced strange scenes in Salem, Massachusetts, the day before Halloween, exchanged weird gifts at the Yankee Swap, and threw Nerf balls at a certain girl's cutout head during the Winter Bazaar. Thanks for being a good sport, Mia. Together we suffered the extreme cold temperatures on our college tour of UNH, celebrated the Patriots winning the Super Bowl, and figured out our first part of our high school transition process. We also combined our efforts to secure the broom hockey title during Spirit Week. We not only worked together with the other students, but with the teachers. And by doing that, we learned a lot more too. In Mr. Little's class, we learned that there are a lot of short stories in the world, and that we are capable of writing dozens and dozens of 5-paragraph essays. I really enjoyed that part of class, Mr. Little. We learned that the road to the Revolutionary War was a long one, filled with sacrifice and inspiration, and also that Mrs. Sanders is nice enough to let us teach her every day. We learned that Mrs. Savage, who is retiring after 22 years in the school district, will help anyone, anytime. In Mrs. Lopez's class, we learned that there are a lot of interesting experiments you can do, and that Mrs. Lopez plays a very mean game of poker. I learned that one the hard way. We learned that Mr. Dene's math riddles get harder and harder as the candy supply gets lower and lower. And I learned that if I don't pay attention during math class, the whole lesson will be retaught to me during primetime television. I would like to thank all our core teachers and advisors, and a special thanks to Mrs. Danberg for her coordination of tonight's celebration. I would also like to recognize Mr. Howland, Mrs. Souza, Mrs. Bartlett. Thank you for giving your time and energy each and every day. Tonight, our journey at KRMS will come to an end. Many of us will move on to the high school, and some of us will go on to other schools. And while we will no longer spend our days together, we will never forget the time that we spent, the lessons that we learned, or the bond that we created here on Team Unite 8. Good luck, everyone. Thank you. With that, I would like to introduce my fellow classmate, Jeff Nansen.
Thank you, Sam. Good evening, my name is Jeffrey Manson. I'm here to talk to you about Vista 8. Vista is a 2-year team, and once you join, you won't want to leave. Vista is an outdoor education program, and it integrates both learning with nature and school with fun. We have a hike every Friday and 2 major field trips to the Presidential Mountain Range. But there's more to Vista than just hiking. We have an intellectually challenging curriculum, and we take careful notes. When we studied ISIS, we took a 40-plus question quiz, and it was up to us to use the note-taking skills that Mrs. Peterson has taught us so well. We also study history and have heated debates on topics that we research. I have learned a great deal on Vista. With that said, I can honestly state that these last 2 years have been the best years of my life, both inside the classroom and outside on the mountains. I could not have chosen a better group of teachers or students to guide me than those provided by Team Vista. The Vistonians in this room are truly some of the best people I've ever met. I'd also like to thank all the UA teachers and my advisor, Mrs. Warren, for putting up with me for these last 2 years. The Vista advisors include Mr. Beans, Mrs. Warren, Mrs. Williams, Mrs. Peterson, Mrs. Barnum, Mr. Edson, and Mrs. Bureau. There are so many memorable moments this year that for some, deciding on only 2 memories would be an overwhelming task. Not for me. These particular memories stood out to me the most, like a rainbow in a world of black and white. My first memory was actually my first as an 8th grader. My first day of 8th grade was exactly the same as my first day of 7th grade, but somehow the experience was different. I realized that instead of asking questions this year, I'd be answering them. This realization has been true to this day, whether it's as little as aiding someone with a math problem or helping them make a decision that would change their lives. I realized that without the now 9th grade Vista students, I wouldn't be who I am right now. I wouldn't be making this speech, nor would I have friendships or memories that I share with the wonderful people behind me. Vista is dependent on this bond, and with luck I've influenced the 7th graders as much as the 9th graders influenced me. My second memory was one of the most powerful things I've ever seen. One day I was walking with a former Vista student through the welcoming halls of KRMS. It had been around 10 years since he'd been back to the middle school, and he was eager for a reunion. I didn't even know if they'd remember him, but the moment he walked through Mr. Beans' door, all of them looked up from their meeting. The look on their faces was as though they'd seen a ghost. This look was then followed by a warm embrace. It was as if they were family. It was at that moment I realized they were. He had returned to New Hampshire for only 3 days, but he knew he had to return to Vista. Whether or not we'll admit it, starting from the first hike, all of us on Vista became family, and none of us will ever forget the good times for each other. I hope that one day I'll walk through that fateful door once again to come home to my family. But more so, I hope that these wonderful Vista students and teachers impact others as they have impacted me. I wish you all the best, and I know all of you will do great things in the world. Thank you. Here's Jerry Andrea from Team Alpha.
My name is Jerry Andrea, and tonight I'm going to tell you about my experiences on Team Marinello, also known as Team Alpha. I would like to thank all of the advisors, Mrs. Arenello, Mrs. Christian, Ms. Abear, Mrs. Willett, Mrs. Fernald, Miss Bunting, Mrs. Cornwell, and Mr. Thompson for making our 8th grade experiences so great. This year, we were sad to see some teammates move to different schools, but we're glad to have new students join our team. Throughout the year, we have all made many new friends and created a true community. We began building our community on Team Day at Camp Sentinel. Team Day brought all of us together and we got to know everyone better. There was a giant swing and a zip line in which we had to work together to help each other accomplish the tasks. If the teammates were nervous, there were plenty of us to cheer them on. As we were getting to know everyone, especially in those first 2 weeks of school, the activities we did during Team Day helped us to work together on other activities and projects throughout the year. There is also a sense of community in our classrooms. All of our teachers have made us appreciate more about every subject and made learning more fun. In history, we held Puritan court during our study of colonial times. During these mock trials, we would dress in 16th century clothing, and we had heated debates on the legal issues of that time period. It was really funny when one of our classmates were found guilty and had to go into the stocks or a big A on the side of their faces all day. In English class this year, we studied Shakespeare. A lot of us thought that Shakespearean plays would be boring, but we found them to be interesting because it was so different from our everyday lives and language. We also got to go out into the local community to see a live performance of Much Ado About Nothing, which was the play we had studied during English class. During math, Mrs. Christian has had patience with us and is understanding of everyone's learning differences. She gives up her time at lunch and after school to work with us if we need extra help. We have done fun science experiments with Mrs. Willett, such as the Rube Goldberg experiment, where we built a contraption to complete a task, keeping a dominant theme throughout the whole thing. When making our Rube Goldberg experiments, we all had to consider the different energy conversions and understand how velocity and acceleration could make our experiments work better, or maybe make them worse. We even created our own online community when we did blizzard bags this year. For one activity, we had to compare temperatures from different towns in the district. It was interesting to see how much the temperatures can escalate and decrease throughout the day. We were also able to share our snow day selfies on the team's blog. Everyone did a great job completing the blizzard bags. At the end of the week, Team Alpha got together as a community to celebrate and share the work we did. Another way that Team Alpha celebrated our hard work was by going on fun and educational field trips. When we went to Salem, we were studying the Salem witch trials in history class. On the field trip, we watched a group perform a courtroom case where a woman was found guilty of witchcraft. This reminded us of the mock trials we did during history class. It was fun to go to Salem, Massachusetts around Halloween because many of our teammates braved the haunted house right before we boarded the buses. This year, we also went to Boston. While we were in Boston, we went to Quincy Market, Faneuil Hall, the Copp's Hill Burial Ground, and the Old North Church, which is where the lanterns were placed in the belfry to signal Paul Revere's midnight ride. We also went to Kennedy Lake Park as an entire community of 8th graders. It was fun to end the year by spending the day with kids from other teams. It was also fun when the entire school community got together to watch the professional acrobats from China. We are lucky that our exploratory teachers organized such a fun event. All of our assemblies, concerts, field trips, and even working in the classroom have brought us all closer together. We have had a great year on Team Alpha. Now we are ready for our next encounter and look forward to being part of an even wider community at the high school. Thank you. And now I would like to introduce to you our principal, Ms. Onofree.
We're the ones that started strong, ended with something memorable, and not much in between. Or maybe there was, but maybe I just didn't hear the in between. So as a gift to you guys as 8th graders, I'm going to try to do that for you tonight. But let me begin by saying that all of us here that work with middle school students are here by choice. You need to believe me when I tell you that it's not a job that you take because there are no other jobs. We truly love this age group, and we will miss every one of you. Remember back to the spring of your 6th grade year when you came to tour the middle school. You were so very nervous and excited. You worried about things like, will I be able to unlock my locker? Will I get lost? What if I'm late for class? Will I have any friends on my team? Will the 8th graders pick on me? Will there be too much homework? You made it, you all survived, and you can now laugh about those worries. I hope that you've all made some wonderful memories. There were team building days and you all went off to different places, Camp Calumet, Sentinel, Northwoods, Mytina, and of course Mount Washington, where you made new friends, learned how to work collaboratively, challenged yourself, and made great memories and became a family. When you returned for your 8th grade year, you were very different. You with very different attitudes. You were older, taller, smarter, and unquestionably cooler, or maybe the coolest. We had some powerful speakers and entertainers that ranged from heart-wrenching stories of loss to a very talented artist that painted portraits in the time it took to listen to a song. One of those portraits, Abe Lincoln, Miss Hebert went home with. We had some truly fun times. Remember the 400 of us that we went to the opening of Catching Fire and Spirit Week and the drama productions of Woody and Law and Order, the Fairy Tale Unit, Winter Bazaar, Winter Olympics, broom hockey challenges, tubing, Fisher Cats, and Canby Lake. And hopefully you grew as independent learners. Most all of you found your talents through our sports teams, band, chorus, drama, robotics, student council, and art. Over half of you took part in our very prestigious and well-known rock concert. At the risk of boring you, I want to take a look at how far education has come in the past 80 years. And I won't go through all 80 years, but as 8th graders, you were assessed this year on certain curriculum standards. Here's one of your math standards, which I'm sure you all excelled at. You were all able to investigate patterns of association in bivariate data by constructing and interpreting scatter plots and two-way tables displaying frequencies and relative frequencies. Got that? Okay, and here's an 8th grade vocabulary standard. Acquire and use accurately grade-appropriate, general and academic and domain-specific words and phrases. Gather vocabulary knowledge of known, unknown, and multiple meaning words and phrases when considering a word or phrase important to comprehension or expression. How about that? Okay. So I came across a report card that happens to be my mother's 4th grade report card, who in 1933, when she was in the 4th grade. See how you do on this report card. Keeps desk or table in good order, materials, and courtroom clean and neat. I only wish I had this when she used to, harp on me about cleaning my room every day, because one of the quarters she got a minus, which means you need special attention. So, obeys promptly, is careful about interrupting. Here's a good one. Stands on 2 feet without leaning. Is able to follow directions, works independently, works well, dependable. Okay, now we go down to health and personal habits. Brushes teeth daily. Keeps hands and materials away from mouth and nose. I'm not sure, guys. I'm not sure how you would do on some of these. Keeps person and clothes clean. Keeps books clean. Uses a handkerchief with coffee, sneezing. So it goes on and on. It's just a great thing. But that was 80 years ago. Look what they were being assessed on, and look at some of the things that you're being assessed on. So I want to say that as you move forward, we will be asking more of you than any other generation that has come before us. I hope that you accept the challenge and work hard to achieve your goals. And you've now reached your next passage of your life, high school. We hope we have given you the tools and skills that you will need to be successful. I wish all of you the very best. Challenge yourself, take advantage of every opportunity, ask questions, make lots of memories, and most of all, be kind. Although I've used this before, it's worth repeating. Maya Angelou, a great poet, said, "I have learned that people will forget what you said, people will forget what you did, but people will never forget how you made them feel." On behalf of our faculty and staff, we hope we have made you all feel special. Congratulations. And now to introduce Team Alpha is Janice Arnell.
Thank you, Ms. Onifrey. I am going to announce the names of all the students on Team Alpha. And as I announce their names, I would like each student to stand when I announce your name. And please remain standing until I have finished announcing all of the names, okay? And for the audience, I'm going to name all of the students. And if you could hold your applause until I'm done with the entire list, that would be great. Thank you. James Aldridge, Jerry Andrea, Kenneth April, Preston Arabia, Charlie Arenello, Ruth Barron, Vivian Batchelder, Ashley Bedard, Journey Bennett, Kayla Blaisdell, John Campbell, Athena Coleman, Calvin Campagna, Brett Conley, Brent Coop, Maria Correa, Bridget Coughlin, Richard Curran, Jerome DeWitt, Caitlin DePrizio, Mackenzie Duran, Natalie Eisner, Cole Emerson, Paige Fenderson, Anya Found, Gabrielle Gadboy, Allison Gifford, Devin Morrill, Nikki Rondon, Sydney Hansen, Sarah Harrigan, Caitlin Hayford, Tyler Hill, Kelly Holland, Kayla Hooper, Kaylee Hooper, Cam Hopkins, Samantha Hotchkiss, Matthew Jimeno, Casey Kelleher, Maddie Kenny, Abigail Larkin, Jenna Luby, Jillian Luby, Anna Lucas, Josh Martineau, Dan Moore, Ricky Malaire, Raina Perkins, Sean Perkins, Dolores Perry, William Polini, Ashley Redder, James Riley, Ryan Russo, Allie Jean Scott, Mariah Shackford, Maddie Shannon, Mercedes Sheehan, Sierra Mae Sherman, Abby Sislane, Connor Sloat, John Michael Spalding, Aaliyah Stockton, Felicity Hallam Tarr, Samantha Tavares, Justin Thomas, Dylan Thompson, Joshua Trudeau, and Garrick Witkins. I present to you Team Alpha. And I would now like to introduce Michael Dene to introduce Team Donation.
All right, guys, same directions as before, okay? Students on Team Dene: Barry Adjutant, Logan Anderson, Sean Atwell, Amanda Barty, Cedric Bellington, Erica Burgess, Mackenzie Chamberlain, Olivia Chassie, Kyle Clark, Rebecca Conley, Elizabeth Cook, Mariah Craig, Dakota D'Onofrio, Jack Dales, Samuel Dene, Morgan DeHaven, Quinn DeMaine, Nicholas DeWitt, Kurt DePrizio Jr., Billy Joe Dumont, Joshua Duntley, Christine Edelman, Sophia Emery, Michael Foy, Gavin Goslin, Briley Gray, Michael Gunnison, Sierra Gurley, Brianna Heald, Matthew Hinton, Sierra Holt, Sarah Huckman, Jada Houston, Jonathan Kemper, Destiny Kaiser, Amanda Lepar, Jacob Lepar, Hallie LaRoche, Lexi Legendre, Amanda Lincoln, Cameron Mann, Mackenzie Mann, Ezra Matthews, Joseph Matten, Andrew McMullen, Kylie Meehan, Christy Meyer, Caitlin Miller, Skylar Mohan, Hunter Montgomery, Dallas Morin, Zachary Nicholson, Olivia Papp, Camden Patton, River Presley, Reed Rinaldi, Julie Rash, Brendan Schalbaum, Danielle Schillereth, Eric Skelly, Virginia Skelly, Paige Tasker, Ramsey Taylor, Kayla Turner, Hannah Valley, Christy Barrell, Joseph Vitanzi, Haley White, Matthew White, Cade Woodcock, Mia York, June Zavis, and Kobe Zimmer. Team Donation. I am proud to introduce Mr. Arthur Veens of Team Vista.
Alex Aswago, Cameron Daly, William Brooks, Bailey Champion, Lindsay Christian, Kira Conrad, Vincent Donnelly, James Donovan, Cami Enos Lemke, James Gamble, Joshua Haynes, Emily Hall, James Huckman, Lucas Jordan, Nathan Klingensmith, Autumn Lemke, Cormac Lennon, Liam McLeod, Colby Magazzini, Jeffrey Manson, Tristan Mariso, Derek Massey Eldridge, Connor Murray, Maddie Nicolay, Miles Nicolay, Corbin Tinker, and Megan Twitchell. Team Vista.
And now I'd like to introduce the assistant principal of the high school. You will now be in his hands. And if you have any questions, he is more than happy to answer any of those when you get over to the high school. The assistant principal of the high school, Mr. Bill Douglas.
Thank you, Ms. Onifrey. It is my pleasure to join in your celebration this evening and to stand before you this evening as well. You have completed yet another milestone and are being promoted to high school. As mentioned before, the transition can be a little overwhelming, but trust me, we are here for our students, but most importantly, for our freshman students. Ladies and gentlemen, the Kingswood High School class of 2019. This is a running tradition here for me to let you know that I will see you in 70 days at Freshman Jumpstart. So enjoy your summer, congratulations, and good luck.
This concludes the 2015 promotion ceremony. You are welcome to join us outside for refreshments. Please remain in your seats until the new freshman class and the KRMS staff had exited the auditorium. Thank you.